People, we are talking today about silence as self-care, continuing the self-care September series that I've been doing. So far, we've covered self-talk as self-care. Last week we did, what did we do? Sleep, sleep as self-care. And this week we are doing silence as self-care. So firstly, why do we want to practice silence? Why is silence a form of self-care? I think number one, it is when we give ourselves physical, actual silence, give ourselves silence from actual noise, it's like a practice for the training ground for cultivating ongoing interior silence. So if we have a lot of clutter, let's phrase it this way. If you have a lot of like actual noise, clutter, it's hard to hear God's voice. But also it's hard to hear God's voice when there's lots of like mind and heart clutter. And so I think we can practice having a training ground for cultivating that interior silence all of the time so that we can hear God's voice all day long, when we set aside times for physical, tangible silence. And another way I think about this is in Cal Newport's book, Digital Minimalism. He coined the term solitude deprivation. And I think many of us are in a bit of a state of solitude deprivation, which is a state in which you spend close to zero time alone with your own thoughts and free from input from other minds. And this, being in a state of solitude deprivation, means that you just don't have as much space to process your life, to be familiar with yourself, to like get to know like what you're thinking, what's coming up for you, reflect on the past and learn from it and dream about the future. And then all of that is kind of lays the foundation for you to have a rich interior life that then you can bring God into. Like that's where we meet him. And consequences of this, like when you have prolonged or being in a state of chronic solitude deprivation, is going to lead to more anxiety, less creativity. You have less self-knowledge and self-awareness. You have less ability to develop deep thoughts and ultimately a deep relationship with God. So silence is very important. And the way that you may be experiencing this specifically in relation to God is maybe you have trouble praying every day. Maybe you don't feel connected to God. Maybe you feel far from him. You don't feel like praying when it comes to the time. Maybe you don't really want to. Maybe it's hard to find time or find the right time. And so when this is where most of your problem solving, like when this seems to be the biggest part of the problem, that it's hard to find the right time where you feel really connected to God and you really feel like doing your prayer, then your problem solving is going to go to, well, I need to, like, if there never seems to be the right time, like that's why I haven't been able to pray, because I haven't found the right time. Then the problem solving is I need to find the right time. But the problem is there is no right time, and it's all a distraction from solving the root cause. And there's a couple of things that I see as being the root cause. Number one, you might avoid silence because silence means coming face to face with the reality of who you are and and your thoughts, and the number one thing that's going to come up is confronting shame. All of the ways that you failed. That's what your brain wants to ruminate on. Like as soon as things go quiet and you come before the Lord, if what comes to the surface is all of the ways that you are inadequate and that feels really heavy and you're like, I'm letting God down, or I'm like, my life is too shameful to even be addressing God. Of course, that's going to feel really painful and you're not going to want to do that. And then what may also be coming up is every day that this goes on and you're like, oh, I like failed at praying again, or I'm so distracted and this just shouldn't be so hard. Like, why is it so hard for me? You might then struggle with this fear, like maybe I just don't love God enough. Maybe that's what all of this really means. And I'm just failing at like the most basic thing that I should be doing as a woman who professes to love God. Like maybe I don't really. And that is a really, like, let's just hold space for the fact that that is a really scary thought. If the number one thing that you want is to be a saint and go to heaven and love God with all of your being, if you feel like it's like there's some incongruency there, like that is a really scary place to be. Another thing that I see coming up is people having fears of what, like if I go and pray and I like bring my life to God, he might ask me to do something, or like do something scary or give up something that I don't want to give up. And so there's this like lack of trust in his goodness and the goodness of his plans, and that if you want something, it must be the wrong thing, and for sure he wants to take it away. And so if you also think that, it makes perfect sense that you would pull back from going and spending time with the Lord if he's potentially going to say something terrifying. And what's really actually another piece to the puzzle is the fact that we live in this unprecedented attention economy. So this is closely tied to the solitude deprivation. The world is just not set up for us to easily choose solitude. We've got everything shouting for our attention all of the time. And so it's a real battle to devote attention to God and to the things that we want to devote attention to. And it's important, I think, that it's unprecedented. Like there are no canonized saints, including recently canonized Carlo Acutis. He lived a number of years ago. Don't have the exact number in my head, but the digital landscape is different now than it was when he was alive. So there are no canonized saints who have lived through the attention economy, the battle for our attention that we are living through. Like we are navigating uncharted waters. And so I say that so that if that is an area of struggle for you, let's just like take a deep breath and have some compassion for ourselves, that we are like, that is part of our calling to sainthood. Like we're the pioneers in figuring this one out. We're going to be like setting the example, laying the foundation for future generations. So ultimately what's happening in all of this is you are thinking that your past is what creates your results. So how much time you've spent in prayer in the past, the quality of your prayer, how many days you have or haven't done it, the successes or failures that you've had, And so what that creates is your heart is like so cluttered with the past that you can't hear our Lord speak life into your past or your present or your future. And so whenever we're ruminating on, but I can't find the right time, or I don't have enough time, it's all a distraction from like really getting to all of these deeper, more painful root problems. So what I always like to say is time management is an inside job, which means that self-care is an inside job, and which also means that your prayer life, cultivating silence, is an inside job. And ultimately, what that means is it's not your past that creates your results, it's your thinking that creates your results. So here's what you want to do. Instead of looking at your past and finding all this evidence for why you're not good enough and you shouldn't pray, or you need to like clean yourself up before you pray, none of that. We want to focus on where you're going. We want to, and who God says you are right now, which is a beloved daughter of God. You want to cultivate a beloved daughter of God identity and mindset and direct your brain to that 90% of the day instead of 10% or less. Like imagine if you walked around throughout the day and 90% of the time you were like, I am a daughter of God. And I'm so secure in that. And this works because you are putting your brain to work for you. You're putting your mind, like you're ordering your mind towards God and towards truth. Then, so that's the first thing. The second thing is you want to amp up your desire for heaven, for God, for prayer, for silence, like have a really compelling vision as to what that is going to give you and what it's going to do for your life. And that's the purpose. The purpose of desire is to move you. So that's going to move you in the direction that you want to go. Like you get clear on the direction you want to go and be really connected to that. And that's where you will move. So it's like what you're doing there is you're putting your like wanting muscle to work for you. You're ordering your wants and desires towards God. The third thing is you want to just decide that when you're going to pray and how long for is just a really simple decision. You want to see it as simple and then just decide and commit to it. You want to put your free will to work for you. You want to order it, like order your freedom towards God, point it there. If I was focused on heaven, what would I do? And then the fourth thing is you want to fail forward. We want to get comfortable with the idea that imperfect prayer is going to happen and see it as an opportunity to extract value and lessons, to grow in the virtue of humility. Like if every failure in the area of prayer, whatever that means for you, if every failure could be an opportunity to grow in intimacy with God rather than see it as an obstacle or a reason to reinforce the lack of the lack of connection, like you could, stumbling over my words here, you can use each and every fail, like they can be opportunities to become closer to God rather than reasons to pull back and create distance. Like scripture says, nothing can separate us from the love of God. It goes through a whole list, not heights, nor principalities, nor death, nor anyway, a whole lot of things, trials. And I think the one thing that can separate us from the love of God is just our free will, just our yes. It's just our, like, am I going to see this challenge, this failure? Am I going to see it as a reason to pull back from God, or am I going to see it as a reason to come closer to Him? And that is how you put your failures, your fears and failures to work for you, not against you. Use them to your advantage. It is totally possible to do that. And so what you're doing in those 4 steps really is, instead of like all of these parts of your interior life being arrows that are like they're sort of firing unintentionally in all different directions all over the place, and they're like pulling against each other, working against each other. What you're doing is you're taking your brain, your desires, your decision making, and your relationship with fear and failure, and you're like putting them all together on the one bow, firing all 4 arrows at the same time in the same direction, and they're like all hitting the target all together. And yeah, so we're going from haphazard to all working in harmony. What's going to happen when you do this is you're going to feel a lot more connected to God. You're going to be in charge of your motivation. As I said before, the failures won't create distance, they'll create intimacy. You'll be like directing your entire interior life towards prayer, so time ceases to be a factor and it becomes way simpler to troubleshoot and figure out. And ultimately you become a woman who prays every day just as a standard, a non-negotiable. You're calm and in control, less rushed and frantic, confident you're doing God's will all day long, hardly derailed by obstacles, challenges, failures. Like, this is how that awesome Saint Catherine of Siena quote, "Be who God made you to be and set the world ablaze." That is how you do it. You use your interior life the way that God intended, and you set the world ablaze. If you would like help implementing these steps, this is exactly what I do with my clients, exactly the kind of thing that we coach on all of the time. So in Catholic Time Mastery, we spend 6 months coming together every single week, and finding how your brain is trying to distract you with, oh no, let's look at the time, let's look at how we don't have enough time, and use that to be a distraction from the real issue. And we uncover the real issue so that it's not unnecessarily complicated, and find the root cause of what is keeping you from being as productive and from living the productive and purposeful life that you actually want to live. And yeah, so we find the root cause and identify, is this a mismanagement of your brain or of your desires or decisions or fear of failure? And we solve for it. So I help you manage it well, manage it virtuously, with a whole lot more ease, less drama. So if this is everything that you've been looking for, but just like didn't even realize, the next step you want to take is book a 60-minute consultation with me. They're completely free, and highly valuable. So I'll like lay out the exact path that you would need to take for your specific circumstances, all of the details of what it looks like to work together, and we'll pinpoint exactly why you've been struggling with your time, self-care, productivity, and you will leave either with clarity, hope, and focus on what you're doing moving forward, or you'll leave with clarity, hope, and focus on what we're doing together, but with the added certainty that we're actually making it happen. It's inevitable. It's as good as done. And like, it's not just possible, but inevitable. That is why you hire a coach. I don't want it to be a remote possibility. I want it to be like 100% it's done, it's happening. So I would love if dealing with time is something you've been grappling with for a while and you want it to no longer be a struggle, I would love to do this work with you. So what you want to do is you want to reach out with a DM, do it right now, and I will get your free consult set up as quickly as possible. And yeah. So thank you for watching. I hope you found this valuable and have an amazing week. Enjoying some more silence, both actual silence and some more interior silence, because you're going to talk to yourself differently. All right. God bless.